It's a new day and it's a new morning to start a new, fresh, and timely topic. Everyone, welcome to the Grammar Talks. And for today, let's talk about a learner. This is Public Life of Science and Technology. Let's reflect and discuss the contemporary scientific and technological development, starting with the historical analysis. And to talk about it, I am with this amazing person together with me right here in the studio, who is a fourth-year BS Chess student, currently taking JEC 108 Science, Technology, and Society subject. Please help me welcome Miss Karen Claire Daguman. Let's know and listen to her talk as she further have a say on the spreading of technologies. And I am Miss Roslyn Yes, your host for today. Welcome to the Grammar Talks, Miss Casey. Thank you so much for being with us here today in person. It's a pleasure to meet you.
The pleasure is mine, Ms. Yen. Thank you for having me here.
Now, tell me, in the historical analysis, first, can you tell us more about the history of science and technology in the Philippines?
Well, Ms. Yen, first of all, I'm very glad to be here and to share to all of you. But paano ko ba to simulan? Siguro I can start with how was the spread of technologies. Ganito kasi yon. Sisimulan ko lang muna sa history of science and technology, specifically here in the Philippines, way back before the independence from the American and Spanish colonizers. So our history is divided into three parts kasi yung tinatawag nating pre-colonial, the colonial, and the post-colonial period. When we say pre-colonial period, from the word pre, it means before the colonialism. When we say colonial period, it's during the colonialism, and the post means after. The post-colonialism, it is about the history after the colonialism. So, Miss Yen, chika tayo regarding the pre-colonial period.
Sige, go ako dyan. Tell us more about what happened to the pre, during, and post-colonial period, Miss Casey.
So, our natives had already activities linked to science and technology. For example, yan, yung fire, di ba? Of course, the fire there is not the technology, right?
Yes.
Because it is created by God. The technology there is kung paano nila gamitin yung fire, which is the method, the ways of the usage of fire. Siguro, alam mo naman yung product ng fire, di ba, Miss Yen?
Of course.
Yeah, so the light and heat. Our natives also, they used to explore the environment until they discovered that they can use the herbs to cure diseases. This is what we call the herbal medicines, right? Because, di ba dati wala pa namang mga gamot na gawa sa mga laboratory. So, the medicines before ay from the environment lang talaga.
Grabe talaga before. Nakaka-amaze on how the technology began, Miss Casey, right? Curious ako, ano nga ba ang pinakamalaking laboratory or pharmacy sa buong mundo before? And where is its source?
That's actually a good question, Ms. Yen. In the forest. So, forest talaga ang pinaka-main pharmacy ng mundo because dito nanggagaling lahat ng gamot. Na-imagine mo ba, Ms. Yen, kung walang forest? Edi, wala tayong makukuhang gamot, di ba? Kung patuloy na masisira yung forest natin, our sources of our medicines are gradually yun mawawala, di ba? So, they're already using plants as medicine, and they were aware of the medicinal and therapeutic properties of plants and methods of extracting medicines from the herbs which address the problems in health. They're known as albulario in Filipino and herbalario in Spanish. So, eto pa. In the pre-colonial period, we have also manunggul jar, which is a form of art. This is where they express, of course, their emotions and also they use for their storage. Because as we know, Miss Yen, before wala pang mga refrigerator noon or any other advanced storage of food, and ang ginagamit lang talaga nila noon ay jar.
Wow! Speaking of which, can you elaborate to us more, Miss Casey, the livelihood during the pre-colonial period?
So, during pre-colonial period, Miss Yen, system of farming and animal raising were also implemented. They raise chicken, pigs, goats, carabaos, small native ponies. They use bow and arrow for fishing and hunting also. Scientific knowledge is observed in the way they plant their crops that provide them food in taking care of animals. To help them in their task. This also addressed the problem in terms of mass production in food supply. So, sila din noon, they developed different modes of transportation, and sabi pa, yung mga the early Filipinos rather, natin ay very proficient in building ocean-growing vessels, which address the problems in terms of transportation.
So, Miss Casey, we heard that you said about sa pagiging proficient about the early Filipinos. Grabe. Ramdam ko talaga ang pagiging innovative nila before.
Yes, that's actually true, Miss Yen. Actually, one of the greatest contribution of early Filipinos to science and technology was achieved by the native Cordilleras when they built the rice terraces by hand. So, can you imagine that?
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah. So, that through they were able to cultivate crops on the mountain sites in cool temperature. They also incorporated an irrigation system that uses water from the forest and mountaintops to achieve farming system. They addressed the problem in mass production in terms of food supplies. So, Miss Yen, dito pa lang it was really true na kaya talaga nila mag-innovate ng farming system in order to survive in relation to an unfriendly environment. And here's a fact, Today, Philippines is the 8th largest rice producer in the world, accounting for 2.8% of global rice production. Also, it was also the largest rice importer in 2010.
Wow! 2.8%. So that was really wonderful news. Kudos to those Filipino engineers and scientists.
Yes, so proceed naman tayo sa colonial period, Miss Yen. So, colonization by the Spaniards provided the Philippines with modern means of construction such as the walls, roads, bridges, and other infrastructures that can be seen mostly in the Intramuros, Manila, Quezon, such as the Malugolong Bridge, and other old Catholic churches located in the different areas in the Philippines. And this period, Miss Yen, the Spaniards introduced a formal education through parish school. They brought with them their culture, own culture by the way, and practices. They established schools for boys and girls and introduced the concept of subject and discipline.
Grabe. Separated yung boys and girls in their generation, no?
Yes, actually, it was the beginning of the formal science and technology in the country, known as the School of Science and Technology. So, yung mga tinuturo nila before ay religion, reading, writing, arithmetic, and music. And since then, scientific institutions were established. During that period also, sanitation and advanced method of agriculture were taught to the natives. Yung Spaniards, nag-establish din sila ng colleges and universities here in the Philippines. The study of the medicine was given priority and contributed to the field of engineering. However, Miss Yen, the Spanish government developed exclusive health and education systems that were only enjoyed by the upper class or yung tinatawag nating principalya class.
Yes, since before, meron na pa rin talaga yan na issue.
Yes, pero Miss Yen, take note regarding to science during the American occupation, itong mga Amerikano kasi, they modernized almost all aspect of life in the Philippines. This period is toward agriculture, food processing, medicine, and pharmacy due to free trade policy with the United States which nurtures the economy towards the agriculture and trade. Yung Americans, sila yung nag-influence more in the development of science and technology sa Pinas compared to Spaniards. They established a public educational system, improved the engineering works and health conditions of the people. They established modern research universities such as the University of the Philippines and many more.
Amazing. A lot has happened and indeed a historical one during the colonial period.
Yes, that's true. So now, dumako naman tayo sa post-colonial period. Miss Yen, no? So, after achieving independence from the colonizers, the Philippines under the different administration continued to pursue programs in science and technology. Its leadership had its own science and technology agenda. However, it is important to note that some Philippine presidents posted more development in the field rather than the others. So, isa sa mga president dito ay si former Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos. Yes, so he is the one who ushered in advancement in the science and technology. So under his term, many agencies in science and technology were established and strengthened. During his time also, 2 terms of presidency and during martial law, he had often many laws promoting science and technology talaga. And the advancement of it had been the major priority in the national government.
Oh yes. Actually, it was in Marcos' time where pioneering hospitals were built, such as the Philippine Heart Center, Lung Center of the Philippines, and the National Kidney and Transplant Institute. And noong July 12, 1980, he created the Light Rail Transit Authority as a government agency. And the chairman was the First Lady, of course, and the governor of Metro Manila, which is Imelda Marcos. This LRTA confined its activities to determining policies, to the regulation and fixing of fares, into the planning of the extension to the system. In this period, it also established the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or the PAG-ASA, under the Department of National Defense to provide environmental protection and to utilize scientific knowledge to ensure the safety of the people. And also the nuclear power plant, I guess, in Bataan. Right?
Yes. That's actually true. And furthermore, the National Academy of Science and Technology was improved to Department of Science and Technology, or the DOST. The Marcos saw the key to the nation building is the continued development of S&T. At patuloy itong nagpa-progress ang S&T, di ba? Even after his presidency, which left a legacy in this particular field.
Nakakamangha naman talaga, and it's way beyond what I've ever imagined during those periods, Miss Casey. After those historic events on how was the spread of science and technology, can you tell us more about what are its responses, especially to the very alarming issue, climate change?
That's really an interesting topic, Ms. Yen. But before that, I want to discuss to you these 2 terms, the global warming and the climate change. When we say global warming, it refers to the increase of Earth's average temperature. So, ano nga ba yung average temperature today? It's 14.6 degrees Celsius. This is the average temperature in the world, particularly here on Earth. But here in the Philippines, the average temperature is between 25.5 to 26.5 degrees Celsius. Malamig. Pero that's the normal average temperature. But as of today, we are now experiencing global warming. We are experiencing 45.5 to 46.5 to 50 rather. 50 degrees Celsius. Imagine, ganun katindi yung panahon ngayon, Miss Yen. So there's an increase of Earth's normal temperature, and once the main problem is due to the greenhouse gases formation or accumulation. So yung pinaka-common dito ay yung carbon dioxide.
CO2. Grabe, Miss Casey, ano? That's very relevant today, yung saying na stay at home. At pag-observe natin ng minimum health protocols, just like what we did before we started this talk show. During these trying times in a pandemic, talagang hindi biro yung 45 degrees Celsius?
Yes, I agree with you, Miss Yen. Further explaining sa mga manonood natin, yung human activities from pollution to overpopulation ay nagda-drive up talaga to Earth's temperature. It's the Earth's temperature and fundamentally changing the world around us. So the main cause of which is a phenomenon called the greenhouse effect. Ito yung gases na atmosphere such as the water vapor, the CO2, methane, nitrous oxides, and the CFCs. Naglilet ng sun's light inside but keep some of the heat from escaping like the glass walls of a greenhouse. And the more greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, the more heat gets trapped. Alam mo ba yon, Miss Yen? So, strengthening the greenhouse effect and increasing the Earth's temperature. And ito pa ha, Miss Yen, activities like burning of fossil fuels have increased the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere by more than a third since the Industrial Revolution.
Indeed talaga. The rapid increase in greenhouse gases in the atmosphere has warmed the planet at an alarming rate. Climate changes has consequences for oceans, weather, food sources, and our health. Nakapagdudulot talaga ito ng baha, and not only more intense major storms, floods, but also longer and more frequent droughts. We don't like that. Growing crops becomes difficult. The areas where plants and animals live shift, and water supplies are diminished.
Yeah, so in addition with that, creating the new agriculture challenges, the climate change can directly affect people's physical health. In urban areas, the warmer atmosphere creates an environment that traps and increases the amount of smog. This is because the smog contains ozone particles which increase rapidly at higher temperatures. Exposure to higher levels of smog can cause health problems such as asthma, heart disease, and lung cancer.
Indeed, the rapid rate of climate changes is really alarming, but humans are also the ones who can combat it. Sa ating mga manonood, mga ka-grammars, if we work to replace fossil fuels with renewable energy sources like solar, wind, biomass, which don't produce greenhouse gas emissions, we might still be able to prevent some of the worst effects of climate change.
Yes, very well said, Miss Yen, ha? But still now, I am really grateful for this technology because it enables us to be connected virtually, right? Shout out dyan sa ating 1,000 viewers na nanonood and streaming online with us. Even this pandemic, right? We ought to have an academic freeze. But we have these technologies advanced that could suffice different platforms to have a setting. Taking for example with that, like a real classroom, diba? Where you can listen to your teacher and classmates' recordings, group activities, and many more. Grabe yung power ng Zoom, Google Meet, at iba pang setup, diba? Really, technology encourages spontaneous learning.
That's actually correct, Miss Casey. Having access to technology can help the youngsters like us learn to dig into topics they find interesting. Now, information is right at our fingertips when used appropriately and monitored. Technology can supplement learning in and outside the classroom.
I agree with you, Miss Yen, ha? Mabibigay kong halimbawa dyan yung searching for a lesson or a fact about a certain thing of a subject could be supplemented by a YouTube video.
Indeed.
Or yung tinatawag nating bio and chem subject na ginagawa na virtually, yung experimentations, di ba?
Exactly.
Indeed, innovative teachings methods, yung professionals natin, nagtuturo na sila in a more creative way to reform the learning process so that mapapa-easy na lang for us students that don't need to read thick books to understand the lessons kasi nagagamit na yung animations, videos, and other kinds of content.
Right, Miss Casey. Iba talaga ang power ng technology. But of course, reminder for our viewers na huwag mag-rely mostly sa technology. The best pa rin yung magbabasa ka ng Paris and other thick books even if we are gifted with the technology.
Yes, ang ganda. Ang ganda pong marinig niyan, Miss Yen, no? So now, here are some of the pros and cons of education and economy in the impact of science and technology to the society. Tingnan natin yung flexible learning, Miss Yen. Now talaga, we can still even learn if we're not in the school because lessons and assignments are accessible online. So anytime and anywhere. Like for example for that, the submission of our assignments, diba? However, may cons din ito, which is to ease the learning process. Technology enables us to have a self-study because we can research anything we are interested to learn on Google, diba? So another impact of technology on education is that it has significantly changed how learning content is delivered, which means that learners don't have to stick to the traditional learning and teaching process.
Grabe. Na-miss ko tuloy yung F2F classes, Miss Casey.
Likewise, Miss Yen, no? But cheer up! Let's look in the area of science. It does enable us to experience, explore, and experiment to study. Science offers us the knowledge discovered by the scientists in different fields from the past, and we are able now to develop and learn from it by now. Yes. So it expands our critical thinking skills. Why a short thing happened, solve mathematical problems, and apply it to real life situations.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. So now the students are reliant on technology in a way that they forgot the practical methods of studying. Like for example, for that Ms. Yen, no, when a class have a quiz, but the most students didn't study because some relied on Google search, which implies that some are cheating. Yes.
Oh.
So also it removes people from opportunities for socialization. More individuals are becoming disconnected and isolated because of these links that technology provides through social networks. Youngsters spend more time engaging with devices rather than spend as much time interacting with others.
I really agree with you, Miss Casey. Spending time playing games with smartphones instead of playing some traditional games such as Patenteva and games you played before.
Yes, Miss Yen, no? A scenario with that, when having a technical difficulty, especially when everyone hasn't the opportunity to learn how to manipulate timely gadgets, the feeling when a device crashes or having an unstable internet connection, it's still a problem, you know? Cons about that is it can be a cause of cheating, which could be more comfortable in online classes because they can have a second setup or use their smartphones to search for the answer to a particular question on a quiz.
Well, with technology devices assistance today, students have many more ways to be academically dishonest than generations before. Examples are the existence of search engines, courses, or applications that provide answers can lead to cheating, such as Photomath, Messenger, and etc.
Yes, Miss Yen, no? So now looking in the economy, we have the pros and cons also. So we have the pros is that the more job opportunities. The ever-growing advancement of S&T made it possible for new types of occupations, jobs, and more to rise. Like for example, with that, the creation of computers paved the way for the emergence of related occupations. We have also the efficient work. The advance in technology will improve productivity capabilities rather. Yes, so AI robots, yes, we have that now, have made to make the work of people lighter. An example for that, the robots help people to produce something.
I want to add to that. In the e-commerce, the internet provides then a new way of reaching out to customers and competing for market shares. Social media like Facebook, YouTube has established itself as a powerful marketing tool. Like for example, also the Shopee, Lazada, Amazon, and etc. Globalization and collaboration as well. It becomes more comfortable and accessible to perform trades between countries because of the proper transportation of goods and decreased communication barriers among regions. For example, for that is communication with different nations is easier. Cons are a short drop in resource stocks, raw materials, or the resources needed to improve existing technological inventions are diminishing at a fast rate. Like, for example, the greater consumption of stone, sand, gravel, and minerals for construction purposes.
Yeah, so additional with that, the online scams also, it increased crime in the workplace, such as the internet hacking and theft or money through the invasion of privacy and illegal access to credit card numbers, which could negatively affect businesses. Yeah, so and also overseas transactions and online operations. And also with that, Miss Yen, no, data security concerns and organizations' data may not be as secure online as it is on paper, diba? Modern technology opens up a business to online security threats, including viruses and other software and hardware concerns. And also with that, Miss Yen, no, the dependence of technology. While technology has increased productivity in many industries, it can also bring a crushing to a halt, diba? So, if the machinery there, and the software there, or the hardware malfunctions or needs to be repaired, the efficiency goes down considerably since organizations are wholly dependent. They are all wholly dependent on technology for day-to-day business operations.
Right. Very well said, Miss Casey. Thank you so much, Miss Casey, for that wonderful information. It was indeed really mind blowing, and I hope you take down notes with this. And we're Grammar Stocks, and we'll be right back.
Shop P99 Super Shopping Day. Shop now.
Hello mga ka-grammars, we're now back and we're live here now at the studio with Miss Kint B. Ursus. Hi, Miss Kint. Yes, so the essence of how technology and science contributes to society is the creation of new knowledge and then utilization of the science to boost the prosperity of humans' lives, the human lives, and to solve the various issues facing today. So, to give us further information, let us welcome our very own Miss Kint. Yes.
Well, hello everyone and all watching out there. Advances in scientific and technological development have greatly expanded the availability for possible human activities and open up new frontiers for humanity where people can dream. In most cases, science and technology inventions and discoveries have been profitable for society. At present, science and technology outcomes are utilized in a diverse variety of forms and brings much more profit to society. While at the same time, their applications has also led to unforeseen issues for society.
Indeed, Miss Kint, right? Just like the intellectual property and scientific publication issues, right?
That's right.
Yes, so what are these two issues that greatly affect our society?
Let's first talk about that intellectual property. Intellectual property refers to the ownership of creation of mind by the person who came up with it, like inventions, literary and realistic works, design, symbols, names, and images.
I see. But how would you protect your intellectual property?
Your intellectual property brings value to your business, so it's vital to protect it globally and locally. But first, you must know the difference of each type. If you want to protect your startup name and logo, you should register a trademark. If your startup deals artistic and literary work, computer software, film and audio visual work, it is important to enlist a copyright protection. If your startup developing in an invention or new concept, it's important to protect it by registering a patent. If your startup has created a new design or aesthetic aspect of product, it is important to register this under industrial design.
Ah, that's a lot of relevant information, Miss Kint. To be honest, I only know that by now. But Miss Kint, where can we register all this stuff?
Here in the Philippines, it's mostly done in Intellectual Property Office of the Philippines located at McKinley Road, Taguig.
I see. So, when and who initiated this intellectual property protection in the Philippines?
The Republic Act No. 8293 or the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines was authored by late Senator Raul S. Rocco. That was signed to law on June 6, 1997 and took effect on January 1, 1998.
So with this regard, protecting your rights from plagiarism and piracy is indeed significant, right?
Of course, these issues lead to scientific and technological development of creating applications like Turnitin Plagiarism Checker and Piracy Checker, which can be downloaded at Google Apps nowadays.
Oh, that's great to hear. In order to have peace and protected rights, register everything under the law, Miss Kint, right? So, what about this scientific publication? How did it all started?
The root of scientific publishing can be traced to 1665, when Henry Oldenburg of the British Royal Social established the philosophical transaction of the Royal Society. The aim of the new publication was to create a public record of original contributions to knowledge and to encourage scientists to speak directly to one another. The journal encouraged scientists to disclose knowledge that they might otherwise have kept secret.
Oh, so what are the positive effects of the scientific publication, Miss Kint?
Publishing a scientific paper can result of fruitful new scientific collaborations, including financially profitable arrangements for authors in academia as a result of commercial overtures for collaboration on consultancy. And companies whose scientists publish their findings typically receive the intellectual credit, recognition, and prestige that come up with such disclosure to the entire scientific community. And other is scientific publication shows that publishing in an open access because of the worldwide visibility without barriers demonstrably leads to more citations and more impact.
Indeed. But how about the cons to this matter?
The risk associated with publishing is that other researchers will use information presented in a paper to invalidate or question the author's own findings, and publish conflicting results which can lead uncertainty, complexity, and confusion to the readers. And for the financial risk, revealing proprietary data or other trade secrets, publishing may harm companies' competitiveness in the marketplace and thus endanger the return of investors. And another risk is for the author. Competitors might use results presented in a paper to advance their own research and scoop the original author in the future publications.
I see. So there are a lot of risks, right?
Yeah.
However, an author who publishes a paper is expected to share materials related to that publication to other scientists for research purposes. So, but that doesn't prevent an author from seeking intellectual property rights, right protections in order to realize the commercial value of those material.
Yes, and to encourage the disclosure of scientific information, the patent system bestows investors of a novel, non-obvious, and useful innovation with the right, for the limited time, to prevent others from making or using that innovation unless licensed to do so.
All right, indeed. Having protection of your rights gives a better future. So talking about our future, Miss Kint, how did science and technology development affects our culture?
First, let's define culture. Culture is a word for people's way of life, meaning the way a group do things. There are factors affecting our culture through science and technology, such as the mass production of automobiles created a culture of commuters, vacationers, and suburbs. Radio created a culture for listeners and spawned jazz, big band, and fireside chats. And the other is television, created a culture and always on news, reality TV, Hollywood, and other shows. And of course, the technology that powered the Industrial Revolution created the industrial society.
So in our everyday life, science and technology developments did exist. So what are the effects did it incur to us people, Miss Kint?
I know you also did these things. One is that every time a notification pops up on your phone or laptop, that technology influenced culture. Second, whenever you are interacting with your friends using gadget, that is another influencing culture. And the third and the last is every time one of us sits down to consume our on-demand entertainment, again, that's a technology influencing culture. But we should remember that it is still in the hands of the people if science and technology will always intervene to their lives.
Indeed, Miss Kint, your decision now will always matter in your future. That's it for our social and cultural impacts of scientific and technological development. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge in this field, Miss Kint. All right, everyone, we're the Grammar Stocks and we'll be right back.
Bili na sa Shopee. Salamat, Shopee.
Welcome back to our Grammar Talk. Contemporary scientific and technological developments has also increased factors threatening people's health. To give us further information, let us all welcome our very own Miss Rosalie Yanez.
Thank you so much, Miss Kint. Contemporary scientific and technological developments are very overwhelming to us on how it enormously made our lives better, comfortable. But with all these benefits, there's always threats.
I agree to that, Miss Yanez. Well, in fact, today, we are on war against this COVID-19. This pandemic that stops our world and our lives. Lockdowns and all, but we are still thriving thanks to science and technology.
And hindi naman ito bago sa atin, di ba? Because infectious diseases were already common before World War II began. But the discovery of antibiotics during 1920s reduced the prevalence of such diseases after the war. In recent years, however, infectious diseases have broken out in various locations around the world. Like in 1957, the Asian flu became widespread, claiming 1.1 million lives globally. It was followed in 1981 when the AIDS, or the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome, that was first observed in American Guy communities, but it is believed to have developed from a chimpanzee virus from West Africa in the 1920s. And also in 2002, the very common, I think we have already been born during that time, the West Nile virus that was triggered by the heat and low rainfall, making it favorable to a vector mosquito called Culex pipiens, I hope I pronounce it right, that heavily participates in virus transmission from birds to people. And of course, the SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, that was last 2003, which have possibly started with bats to cats then to humans. Added to the list was last 2019, the COVID-19, which barrels through 114 countries in just 3 months and infecting and claiming more than 1.6 million deaths. How much more this year? Once infectious diseases have spread in a society, damage is inflicted both on people's health and at the economy at large.
Right. Kita naman sa pagbaba ng ekonomiya ng bansa. Lots of Filipinos lost their jobs, but we are striving and we can still see the smile on our fellow Filipinos. With this, Ms. Yen, how would science and technology respond to these infectious diseases?
Interesting question. Well, regarding research and development topics that requires urgent handling for certain issues resolution like the COVID-19, project responses are required to link sectors together based on clear goals. In this situation, execution of systematic policies such as the building or altering of related social frameworks alongside implementation of research is also important. Like, for example, the response to new infectious diseases should not be limited to research into pathogens or to the development of medical products or vaccines, but should also include efforts to integrate individual knowledge and technologies such as various inspection technologies to prevent the spread of a disease or its intrusion at the water's edge, and implementation of related public sanitation measures.
Indeed, we as citizens, we should adhere to these implementations, and a lot of people make efforts to integrate individual knowledge and technologies.
I agree. Well, really, scientific and technological advances in life sciences have been remarkable. contributing to huge developments in medicine and to resolution of food and environmental issues, and raising expectations of the development of wholly new industries.
But there will be always disadvantages to advantages, right?
You're right, definitely, Miss Kint. On the other hand, because these sciences target humanity and because they open door to the artificial creation of functions and characteristics that do not exist in nature, and for other similar reasons, consideration for bioethics and the assurance of safety is needed.
What problems and issues are associated with this?
Well, while the specific problems and issues requiring attention may vary depending on the research content and state of implementation, some of the concerns that have been raised include the problem of respect for people, the problems of the right to self-determination, and invasion of privacy in research that targets human subjects, and the risks to human health and life. And also go beyond these issues to include concern about the effects on the environment.
Can you cite some examples to it?
Of course, the first one is cloning technology. The successful application of cloning technology attracted attention of the world in July 1996. It was the birth of the cloned ship named Dolly. With this, it is widely expected to contribute to the stable supply of livestock food sources, to the manufacture of pharmaceutical products, to the protection and reproduction of rare animals, and to mass production of test animals. But on the other hand, the suddenly approaching possibility of production of human cloned individuals carries with it ethical and social issues from the perspective of raising the possibility of infringing on respect for human life. Other issues focus on safety, such as the appearance of gene abnormalities in animal testing.
Just like the Resident Evil movie, The Umbrella Corporation, right?
Yeah, I like that, Resident Evil. But I want to add more with the cloning technology. This is human genome and gene analysis research. So we all know that human genome is the blueprint for human life. And human genome and gene analysis research has led to the development of new treatment methods through the explication of affected genes and to clarification of people's tendencies to catch disease based on their genetic characteristics, which is leading to expectations of medical treatment suited to specific individuals.
The so-called tailor-made medical treatment, right?
Yes, absolutely. And other major contributions to progress in the life sciences and health treatment science.
What about this?
Well, on the other hand, information obtained in the process of human genome and gene analysis research will enable the identification of genetic factors in the providers of specific samples and all their blood relatives, which could lead to various ethical, legal, and social problems. In addition, while information regarding the analysis of gene structure or function could be utilized in tests, diagnosis, and medical treatment, utilization of such information to determine the gender of an unborn children, to discriminate in employment, or to influence the content of insurance contracts, for example, will require consideration of serious societal issues.
Oh, really? That's breathtaking.
Yes, and I want to add more to that list. That is, or are, human ES cells, or human embryonic stem cells. Because human embryonic stem cells have the potential to differentiate into every type of cell in the human body, they are often called master cells. Cells that are lost to disease or accident and which cannot regenerate on their own, for example, could be created from human ES cells and then transferred into the body, opening up new treatments of ailments that were previously considered to be difficult to cure. But human ES cells are created through the destruction of a human embryo, giving rise to ethical issues, because a human embryo is skin that could have developed into a fetus. right? If it had been transferred into a human womb, is being used for a purpose other than the birth of a human life.
What are the responses to this?
Well, as a result, the Bioethics Committee Subcommittee on Human Embryo Research was established in 1999 under the Council for Science and Technology to engage in studies into the utilization of human embryos for research purposes, followed in September 2001 by the guidelines for the establishment and utilization of human ES cells.
Considering these things, indeed, there have been phenomenal advancement in science and technology.
Yes, modern medicine has eliminated many diseases and infections. Modern transportation has led to the possibility of saving the victims of earthquakes, tsunamis, and famine on a large scale. And modern communication has enabled establishing contacts with these remotest regions of the world. But on the other hand, in their long history from dim antiquity, it is during the last 100 years that human beings have perpetrated the worst forms of destruction. Many species have disappeared, the ozone layer has also been depleted, and the number of human beings killed in the inter-regional and world wars make one shudder.
Also, human values come into conflict with scientific advancement as we deal with important issues such as nuclear power, environmental degradation, and information technology.
Exactly. Well, my favorite quote from Ibu van de Poel, a professor of ethics and technology in Netherlands, and Lambert Royakkers, an associate professor in ethics of technology in Eindhoven University of Technology, same in Netherlands. They point out that even when engineers focus narrowly on creating economic value, the products they develop often have fundamental societal impacts, such as increasing or decreasing opportunities for marginalized populations. In this sense, engineering is an inherently morally motivated activity. Changing the world for the better is, however, no easy task, and also not one that can be achieved on the basis of engineering knowledge alone. It also requires, among other things, ethical reflection and knowledge.
This is true. Engineers have the potential to have both a significant positive influence on society and cause very serious and possibly lasting damage. Being an engineer could be considered to be both a great privilege and a real responsibility. Engineers both need to be aware of their own values and the origin of these values and their own cultural and societal identity, and to be able to critique these values and consider enlarging them to cover additional ethical issues, since not all personal or societal values are necessarily ethical.
Yes, indeed. So we are aspiring engineers, right? And engineers also need to be able to maintain their own ethical values and integrity in the face of challenges and pressures to conform to organizational or societal norms which prioritize profit and convenience over ethics. Well, particularly when the issues affect the environment or people who are not part of the dominant culture.
Ethical engineers and scientists also need an appropriate combination of confidence and humility. The confidence to stand up for what they believe in and promote ethical values and behavior in the face of opposition, and the humility to learn from other people. Be open to new ideas and admit what they are mistaken.
Wonderful. I totally agree, Miss Kint. So may we comply to what our school's vision is, to produce human engineers.
Yes, of course. Wonderful. We may call on Miss Karen Claire de Guman.
Hello.
Hello, Miss Casey. Would you like to add something before we end?
Well, continuing to treat science and technology as merely objects, industrial products, or extreme forces prevents us from understanding how technologies impact the world around us. Their cohesiveness, capabilities, models for employment, perspective on what is meaningful, and ultimately what they value.
Indeed, we need to invest in a more grounded approach to technological development that doesn't lose sight of the true ends of technological progress, social progress, and the well being of humanity in terms of opportunities and self realization, and comprehends the difference between material wealth and quality of life. Thank you so much for listening, and please give us a round of applause, virtual applause for Miss Karen Claire Daguman, Miss Kint Orsus, and yours truly, Miss Razalea Nies. And if you have any questions, please comment down below. And this is Grammar Stocks, and thank you so much, and have a pleasant morning to each one of us.